Hey everyone, it's a bit of a slow news week, but with last week's weekly update, they expanded a little bit on raids and confirmed the raid lockout mechanic. So I thought I'd explain what a raid lockout is and how it'll work for those of you who maybe haven't played MMOs before or who haven't done a raid before. Last week's update was all about raiding. It's something that you've never experienced in a game before, it's super hard, yada yada yada, everything that they've been saying for the past few months. The update is in the description if you want to go check it out. There will be two modes of difficulty, normal and hard. The loot featured in the Vault of Glass will span across both normal and hard mode difficulties, each with their own unique armor sets and weapons. Each boss has their own loot table, meaning only certain bosses will drop certain loot. It's also important to know that each character that you have has their own lockout, meaning if you have 3 characters all geared and ready to go for raiding, you can run the raid on each character every week, running Vault of Glass up to 3 times in a week should you so desire. So what is a lockout? A lockout basically prevents you from running a raid multiple times on the same character within the lockout period. For Destiny, the raid lockout period is 1 week, starting every Tuesday. So the lockout in Destiny prevents you from running any raid more than once per week on a per character basis. I just said that you can run it 3 times in a week if you want, but it's only once per character. You do not need to complete the entire raid in one sitting either. The way it'll probably work is that every time you kill a boss, that kill will act like a checkpoint. So if you kill 3 bosses on Tuesday and want to call it a day, you can leave and then come back another time, and everything up to boss 3, including boss 3, will be dead and will not respawn until the following Tuesday. The big thing that you should know about is playing with friends and playing with different groups. I'm under the assumption that it'll work the same way that it does in every other game, which is like this. Let's say I join a raid group with my friends. I'm 1 and I have friends 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Their parents were terrible people and decided to name their children after numbers. For example's sake, we'll say that they are lockout number 147, just a random number. Let's say again, just for example, that there are 8 bosses in the Vault of Glass. My group goes in on Wednesday, kills 5 bosses, and then calls it a day. We're going to come back tomorrow to finish the raid. Now it's Thursday, but our 6 can't make it to the raid, and this is the only time we're going to have to finish the raid, otherwise everything's going to respawn. We need to find a replacement. But 1 through 6 are assigned to lockout number 147. If we want to replace 6, we need to find someone who is unassigned to a lockout for this week. But if we do find an unassigned replacement, they will now be assigned to lockout number 147. Lockout 147 has 5 bosses dead though, so that replacement, 7, will miss out on those first 5 bosses. Say our buddy, 8, wanted to come help us, but 8 is already assigned to a different lockout for the week. 8 cannot come help us. 8 is already assigned, even if 8 has killed the same number of bosses that we have. 8 would only be able to join our group when the lockout resets on the following Tuesday and we all become unassigned. Whether or not this is exactly how it will work in Destiny is still to be determined, but it is how it works in many other raid systems. This is probably one of the smaller reasons as to why there is no raid matchmaking available. The number one reason is obviously because these raids require heavy communication and cohesion between your fire team members. You're gonna want to do this with people that you know. But a much smaller, more minor reason is, if Destiny had raid matchmaking, you and your other teammates would all be assigned to the same lockout and would all need to meet up again in order to continue the raid. If all those random players couldn't meet up again for the rest of the week, your lockout would be completely wasted. Plus, you'd have to deal with people who want to leave, people who just randomly leave, people who could only stay for an hour, and all these other minor little issues. It's not like World of Warcraft where you can get away with missing 1 or 2 people in a raid group. If you're missing 1 or 2 people in a 6-person team, that's a lot compared to missing just 1 or 2 people in a 25-man raid group. Plus, there's not really a system in place where you can just enter general chat and say, looking for one more for a raid. It's a much bigger pain in Destiny than it is to do in an MMO, at least right now it is. Hopefully that will change sometime in the future. I hope that cleared up any raid lockout confusion. I know it's a pretty foreign concept to those of you who have not played any MMOs before. As usual, if you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment and I will try to clarify as best as I can. One more thing before we go, if you pre-order Call of Duty Advanced Warfare before the 21st of September at GameStop, you will get an exclusive armor shader. I've been told that the code will be printed on your receipt at the time of pre-order. Unfortunately, I do not know the situation for other countries at the moment. Anyway, that'll do it for me. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and one more week to go.